2013 also brought us the launch of 2 consoles. Let's start with the PlayStation 4 launch, just because it launched a week or 2 ahead of the Xbox One. PS4 launch, how it was almost a perfectly executed console launch in the sense of from the messaging to the price point, almost every
from
facet
moment
of it.
one, right? Like from the minute they announced the console
In February of the same year.
Exactly, right? Like from minute one, it was games, 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 games,
Yes.
games, 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 games. Like they didn't muddle the message with entertainment and all-in-one whatever. They were very, very focused on, this is for you, this is the thing you want. Now we're going to give you 1 billion games that you can play on it. And it's carried on 3 years later. That's still the message.
And then a new DualShock. Yay.
It was so
that's
good.
such an improvement.
Yes.
I mean, the DualShock had been, I mean, obviously plenty of people were using it. The PS2 wildly successful, in back PS1, PS2, every iteration. But the 360 controller was probably the best controller ever made up to that point in time, and it was pretty superior, especially with action games.
Well,
with
it
those triggers.
took the 360 controller for everyone to wake up and go like, oh, the DualShock isn't very good.
And
This has a lot of problems.
They went a long way towards making it a great controller with the DualShock 4.
They did. It really, in every way, they found a way to improve in what they'd done the generation before. This was a humbled Sony. This was a Sony that barely stayed in it. I mean, frankly, they were in trouble for a long time, and they caught up there at the end, largely on the strength of that late library push.
Well, and just their worldwide strength as well. You know, they still, outside of North America.
Exactly, but I mean, so what they do, they create a new console with an architecture built not on some proprietary mess, but effectively now a PC.
An x86 architecture.
Easy to develop for, great controller, a nice streamlined console, huge indie support, improved PSN, absolutely wonderfully streamlined UI experience compared to that mess they'd had the generation before. In every way, they had learned their lesson, and the messaging was just on point. Also, it did not hurt that they had a reasonable price tag right off the bat, which had been one of their key mistakes the generation before. You could walk out and buy one of these things for $400 at the beginning.
Also, out of the gate, at launch, their biggest and best game, Resogun, was free.
That's true.
Right.
Yep.
Which is sort of a backhanded compliment.
A little
in a
bit,
sense.
right? Like the launch lineup was a little bit lackluster.
It was not great in hindsight, but it
No.
didn't. They nailed everything else, and it didn't seem to matter for quite a while.
It was the promise of the console. No matter what the launch lineup was, it was the promise that this is just the beginning, and it really felt that way. It didn't feel like, oh, this is it. Okay, like, it didn't feel anticlimactic, even though it might have been a little bit.
And how wise to march, 50 indie developers up on stage and just be like,
right.
guys, there's gonna be software for this thing. We're gonna, just hang around, don't worry, stuff's coming. And they did kind of fill those gaps during that first few months with all kinds of small but interesting games that were highlighted, they were marketed, they were given great publicity, and a lot of them were a lot of fun.
Yeah, just almost flawless on the execution of all of it. It has, of course, gone on to become one of the most successful systems of all time already. I mean, it's raced off to such an incredible start.
Which is nuts when you think about the Wii. The Wii was the one that was supposed to, it eclipsed PS2 so quickly. It was the one that seemed unstoppable and unsurpassable. But
the Wii, it seems like throughout video game history, you succeed, hubris sets in, and you decide you don't have to listen to anybody anymore. The Wii U is an expression of that. That's happened so many times from the Sega Saturn to the PS3 to the Wii U. It is over and over again. We succeeded, so next generation we're going to do what we want. Oops, we probably should have listened to something.
That means the NX is going to be the biggest and best yet.
So it could be. Who knows?
Hopefully. I sure hope so.
I'd love that.
I want the NX to be awesome.